Today, we're going to talk about the 8 books that I read in the month of April. We have horror, we have fantasy, we have a book that has cats in it because I love books with cats in them, and we also have a musical biography. So, first thing I read was Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward, and this is a horror, and it was quite possibly my new favorite book of hers. And I felt like it was less twisty than some of the other ones. It was just a really great story. So there's this place called Nowhere, and there's these rumors of these Nowhere children who are children that were hurt and abused by the people that should have taken care of them, but they have run away from home and they've created like their own kind of society there. So they take care of each other and they protect each other, and it follows the story of these 2 kids who are living with their cousin, and their cousin is basically abusive and is starving them to death. And one day, the older sister, she meets this girl who kind of like follows her home, and the girl is like, he's starving you. You should come to Nowhere, and tells her how to get there. The girl is like kind of trying to wait till she graduates school, but like stuff's getting worse and worse. So eventually her and her brother, they take off and they try to find Nowhere. It's what happens when they get there, and like, is it better, this place, is it better for them than it was with the cousin? And it's a really effed up story. And it's also kind of like part mystery too, because you have another storyline that comes into play with these 2 people who do kind of like true crime documentaries, and they decide that they want to do one on the Nowhere children and see if they're still there, if there's any truth to that, and this, that, and the other. So you have like these 2 different storylines that come into play, and there is twists and there is a connection between the 2 storylines that I believe that like Ward really like leads you to see them though. So one of the twists was pretty obvious, and then there was a couple smaller ones that weren't. I thought it was a great read. I absolutely loved it. I do have a standalone review for that, so if you want a little more in-depth on that book, I will link that down below in the description of the video, and you can check that out. Okay, so after that one, I read She Made Herself a Monster by Anna Kovacheva. And this one is about this small village, and then there's this woman who is a vampire hunter. But she's not really. She's a con artist. And so she goes from village to village, and she like helps the villagers by creating like a monster that doesn't really exist, and then taking care of it for them, because the villagers are all really superstitious and they get all caught up in their heads and themselves, and they're blaming other people for all their problems. Like there's this one girl in the village, they blame her for like why all the babies are dying and why everything goes wrong, or the crops are failed, or this, that, and the other. And this girl is also like to be married off to like basically like her freaking uncle or something that's effed up. She doesn't want that. So when this con artist comes to town, this girl who is actually was raised by the uncle with her cousin, which makes it even more effed up, she sees an escape in this woman that is the vampire hunter, and together hopes that they can plan and create a monster vile enough for her to be able to escape. And it is quite the fantastic story. I really enjoyed it. It's messed up. There's the characters in this that you'll hate, characters that are very enjoyable. And the vampire hunter, she actually does help these villages because she helps them to stop focusing all their woes on people who don't deserve to have it focused on them. It's a very interesting and weird story, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. That one I also have a standalone for, so we'll link that down below too if you want some more info. After that one, I read musical biography, and that is David Bowie and the Search for Life, Death, and God. And so this basically follows like his musical career and all the different albums that he made, and like kind of like what he was into at the time, because he kind of like got into a bunch of different stuff spiritually. When he was a kid, he was a choir boy in church. Then he got into Buddhism. He got into like weird occult stuff, all sorts of different spiritual aspects, and how each of those things kind of influence the different albums. And you also just see points in time throughout his career, like when he first started, like it was for 9 years, you know, he played in all these different bands and nothing was really getting off the ground. And just you watch the trajectory of his career and his life, and it was a great read through. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and then just there were certain albums I hadn't even heard of before that it made me want to go and check out too. So that one I do have. I think I have standalones for most of these if you do want further info on some of these books. So if you're a fan of David Bowie, I would definitely recommend it. All right, so after that one, we read Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. This one I picked up because I really loved her Emily Wilde series, which was like the first book was Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. So that one had to do with like the Fae and stuff. And this one, so Agnes runs a cat shelter, and her cat shelter ends up being destroyed by these two like dueling magicians. And so she needs to go find another spot. But most people don't want to rent their building to have a bunch of cats all over it, because cats, oh, those infernal beasts, they'll claw up the walls and pee on the floor, whatever these people think. So eventually she finds a spot. However, unbeknownst to her at first, or maybe she just ignored all the red flags, there's an illegal magic shop in the basement. And one day, another magician comes looking for the person who runs the illegal magic shop in the basement, and this just causes chaos for both Agnes and the magician. And so you have a very cozy, cute fantasy. It's dark. It's weird. There are cats, which I love books with cats. If you've been around the channel, you may know this. There's a little bit of romance in it, but not a whole lot. It's very side quest in this book there, but it's not like the focus of the book. The focus is like the saving the cats in the cat shelter. Agnes really hates magic and magicians, but she starts to come around once she's kind of involved in that world by a choice that wasn't exactly hers. If you like Heather Fawcett, if you enjoyed the Emily Wilde series, like, it's a fun read. It's a page turner. All right, so after that, we read one of the books that I had on my Stephen King TBR for this year. So I do have a Stephen King TBR. I think I only have 5 or 6 books on it. And I got kind of sidetracked because the first one I wanted to read was The Talisman, which we accomplished. But then the third book in The Talisman is coming out this year in October. So I ended up deciding, okay, well, I need to read the trilogy. So I'm working my way through Black House right now. So I should finish that soon. But this book, The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, this one is also on my Stephen King TBR. It's a short little novella. There's this girl, she gets lost in the woods. Her mom, and her brother, they go on a day hike. It's on the Appalachian Trail. The mom and the brother are always like arguing because the brother's pissed off. His parents, they got divorced. He just wants to go and live with his dad because all his friends are there. And like when he's living with his mom, like the people at his school, they don't really like him, and he's kind of a big nerd. But at the other, where his dad is, he has friends, and so yeah, he's always arguing and angry and pissed off at the world. And so like they're hiking down the trail. The girl, Trisha, she's like, hey, I have to use the bathroom, and then mom and brother just like bicker, argue, totally ignore her, and she says it again, and then she's like, ugh, whatever. And then so she goes a little ways off trail. There had been a fork too, so she went down the other side while her mom and brother continued this way. And then like she's a little bit off the road, but she's like, oh, people might see me. So she goes a little further into the woods, which was whatever. Had she gone back to the path after she was done, she would have been fine. But she decides, oh, I can just walk through the woods and meet up with the other part of the trail. Yes. But then she gets all turned around, and then she gets lost. And then she has to try to survive and try to make her way out. And she's 9 years old, and she has a little bit of knowledge about the woods and stuff because her family does seem like a family that has gone camping and been outside and knows a little bit. So she knows like a few things she can eat, like checkerberries and fiddlehead ferns and beech nuts. This may help her in surviving. She also had a backpack with her when they all went. So she had a backpack, she had water, she had a soda, there was a sandwich, there was a little bit of food, but obviously that's not going to last her the whole time. It's a story about survival and baseball, and as she gets lost, she eventually starts seeing her favorite relief pitcher, Tom Gordon, and he kind of like is with her as she's going through this journey where she's lost in the woods, and there also seems to be some sort of weird entity that may be pursuing her as well. And I thought it was a really good read. Solid story. I thought the ending was really good. Good, not spectacular. All right, next up, continuing on in my new favorite fantasy series, which is the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I read book 5, The Butcher's Masquerade by Matt Dinniman. This is a lot of people's favorite book in this series, and I can see why. It's such a chaotic, fun, emotional whirlwind of a book. So this is level 6 of the dungeon. And in this level, now people who have watched this reality-based show of the Dungeon Crawl can come in and hunt the crawlers. So I think they pay quite a bit of money to come do this. So you're adding this level of chaos also. Carl his whole thing has been trying to foil this and throw a lot of wrenches in their plans, which he manages to do quite a bit of. And so you have that, but you also have all the regular quest lines and bosses and stuff too. So you have like all this just chaotic stuff coming at you. There's another thing that Carl had got involved in, Carl and Donut, on another floor where they met this elite character who was Czarina Signet. And so she was also like part of this other contracted little TV series that was within the reality show. So he has to meet up with her, and like the stuff she wants to do completely conflicts with what's happening towards the end of the story, because you have the Butcher's Masquerade, which is this big party for the top 50 dungeon crawlers, and it's basically kind of like a trap. And so the other storyline with this Signet is gonna probably screw everyone over. So it's like, how is this even gonna work? What's gonna happen? It was awesome. I will have a standalone review coming out for that one. I'm putting together right now a playlist of all the Dungeon Crawler Carl books. So far, I have 1 through 4 in the playlist, and 5 will soon to be added. Yeah, that was a pretty awesome one. Is it my favorite? I'm not sure. I've genuinely liked all of them so far, but this one was really freaking good. And huge. It was like 700 pages. They just keep getting bigger and better. Okay, so after that one, I read The Ghost Women by Jennifer Murphy. This one was a super page turner. It's kind of like a murder mystery, kind of, but it's also like weird and esoteric and occultish. So you have this art school that is hidden in the woods, ancient tarot cards, weird ritualistic stuff, and like the history of the school and what's been going on in the island for years. Like the school used to be this monastery where they used to have witch burnings and stuff, and then there's all these like rumors of legends about all the witches that were killed, their spirits. They went and they fled and they flew into this one tree, which they call the ghost tree, that's in the middle of the woods in the forest on this island that is in South Carolina. A body is found of a student named Abel, and he is posed and hung from the ghost tree in the pose of the Hanged Man tarot card, and that tarot card is found in his back pocket. And then all these other murders start happening where they all resemble like tarot cards. They're staged to be like certain tarot cards. And so the detective on the case, she has to figure out what's going on. She thinks it's like ritualistic murders, this, that, and the other. And this was such a page turner. It's witchy, it's weird, it's occultish. I thought it was awesome. Okay, and then after all the chaos and carnage, we have a palate cleanser with a little bit of some cozy fantasy, and that is The Somewhat Wicked Witch of Brigandale by C.M. Wagner. This follows the story of this witch who lives in the woods. She basically just wants to be left alone. She'll sell you potions and tinctures and stuff that you need at reasonable prices. Her name is Gretzella. One day, someone leaves a screaming baby on her doorstep, and she takes him in and she raises him as her own. She names him Bradley. And when Bradley reaches age 18, the little creatures of the forest start prophesying that he is the lost prince and is heir to the throne. And Gretzel's like, we do not want any of this. Nope. Because Bradley, bless his heart, has never learned how to think for himself. Anytime he gets stumped, he would just look to the people who are around him and have them solve his issues for him without having to think. So he's never had to really use his brain. So he's not very smart. And Gretzella knows that if he were to become a king, this would be bad news bears and would probably destroy their kingdom. So she's going to try everything in her power to prevent this. And it's cute and cozy and quirky. There's a little bit of a romance in it. And it was just a nice, fun, and light read. So what were my favorite reads out of all of these? We had some really good ones, but honestly, I'm probably leaning towards The Butcher's Masquerade by Matt Dinneman. Now, if I had to choose outside of Dungeon Crawler Carl, I might have to go with Nowhere Burning by Catriona Ward or The Ghost Women. Those two were really freaking good. I might be leaning a little more towards Nowhere Burning. Honestly, this month I didn't have any that I disliked. Did you have a favorite book that you read this month or one that you didn't like? I don't know. Let me know. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.